Now here's how to wet form a leather sheath. First off, on our knife, we need to apply some oil. Next, we need to wrap it in plastic wrap. Set that aside. Now we got to heat up some water to loosen up that leather. Now we're going to transfer that to our main source of water here. Now we can dunk our leather sheath. Make sure we get the entire thing wet, even the inside. Now we're going to let this soak for about 30 minutes. Now once that's done soaking, we can remove that from the water source. And from here, I can take my knife and gently place it inside of that leather sheath. Two ways we can do this. Number one is with our thumbs. Now this will take quite a bit of work to do this. There's an easier method by using a vacuum sealer. From here, I'll insert that leather sheath and knife inside a plastic resealable bag. I'll hit the vacuum button. Now we're going to set this aside for 2 to 3 hours. As you can tell, it's already pulled in that leather sheath around that handle nice and tightly. From here, we're going to need to cut this open and remove this and allow it to air dry for 24 hours. Once that's air dried for 24 hours, remove your knife and take off all of the plastic wrap. Now you may have noticed it's hard to get the knife in and out. You're going to have to press it in and pull it out a couple times to loosen up that leather just a little bit. Now from here, allow this to dry for at least another 24 hours. Use a leather conditioner to condition that leather, put back those oils that have been lost, and also help prevent it from cracking in the future. And there it is. I hope that was helpful. Hit that like and subscribe button. I'll see you next time. Take a look at this. There's hidden treasure in here. Can you hear the difference in this sound? That's because it's full of fat wood or lighter wood. You can easily start a fire with this. A lot of people are tempted to use a toggle like this when removing their cook pot from their campfire, but it's just not secure. A little trick is to tie a stop knot in the end, create a loop, create a lark's head, the 2 ears, take a wide branch just like this, insert it and slide it all the way down the stick there, tighten that down tight. Now obviously this is not going to hold, so what we need to do is come to the top, create a half hitch, and once we've done that, we're going to hold here, and now we can lift it out with a line. This is so easy, even a caveman can do it. Create a bite, run that bite up through your grommet, take the standing end, create another bite, and run it through the first bite. Pull the running end tight. Now take that running end and create another bite, and feed it back through that last bite. And now pull the standing end tight, and now you're secure. When you're ready to leave, just pull this. To quickly secure items together, we're going to use a carabiner and wrap it 1, 2, 3 times. Begin to pull tight, nice and snug. To loosen, come back through twice. Now most people, when tying off to a tree, will make a loop on one end of their line, bring it around the tree, and then feed the other end of their line through that loop and begin to pull out all of that slack. Now let me show you a better way. Now we're going to clean up this process a little bit with a toggle. Could be wooden, could be plastic, really whatever you have handy laying around camp. Now the first thing I'm going to do is reach through this loop and grab the running end and pull a little bit of a loop through the standing end. From there I can insert my toggle in that loop and pull that running end tight. Cinch it up against the tree, and now I can tie it off on the other side. Whenever I'm ready to break camp, just pull this out. Today I'm going to show you this easy lantern hack using a wooden toggle and a piece of paracord, so stay with me. The big problem is all my light is up here and not down below where I actually need it. The first thing I need to do is tie a bowline knot on each end of my paracord. After I've tied those bowline loops, I can remove my lantern and place one of those loops through that hook. Next, I'm going to take that running end and thread it through the handle on my lantern. Now I'm going to create a marlin spike, and to do that, I'm going to pull my main line through this bowline loop. Now I'm going to use that wooden toggle, place it through that marlin spike, and let it pull tight on itself. Now from here, I can hold the main line and pull up to adjust. Likewise, if I need my lantern to go down lower, all I've got to do is press down. Now this is going to distribute that light a lot more efficiently throughout the tent. Now I hope that was super helpful to you. If so, hit that like and subscribe button. I'll see you next time. Stop wadding up your cordage and smashing it in your backpack. Instead, we're going to open our hand, toss the line between our thumb, and wrap around pinky, thumb, pinky, thumb, pinky, thumb. From here, we're going to grab in the center, pull that off, take what we have left and wrap it around a couple times. Going to leave a little space open here to pull the running end through nice and tight. And from here, all you've got to do is pull that tag in. This tension hitch requires 2 sticks, one in the front, one behind. The bottom stick rotates over the top stick. Continue to wind upward and then lock it off by bringing the lower stick over the rope. From here, you can adjust the height, bringing the stick back around and winding up or down. To secure a tent stake, fold the line over, creating a loop. Once you have that loop folded over the main line, take your tent stake, run it behind the main line but through the loop and pull tight. When you're ready to break camp, simply loosen up that hitch, slide your tent stake out. If you don't have one of these, I'm going to show you how to make one with this. We're going to bring our 2 ends together and create a double overhand knot. Loop it through once and twice. Pull tight. Now on the other end, I'm going to create a lark's head by bringing 2 fingers through, flipping that around to create 2 ears. Fold those 2 ears together just like that. Now use that double overhand knot, bring it through the lark's head and pull tight. From here, you can slide this all the way down, creating a soft shackle. Just make sure your rope's strong enough. Loosen this up and slide that double overhand knot back through and you're ready to go. Run your soft shackle through your handle, create a lark's head, take the double overhand knot over the line and through that lark's head. Allow it to pull tight. From here, you're ready to go. Here's how to keep a carabiner from sliding back and forth. We're going to pull a little bit of slack in our line. We're going to bring 2 fingers up through the loop, bring them around the outside to create 2 ears here. We're going to take those and flip them together, just like that, creating a lark's head. Once we've done that, we'll take our carabiner, clip it through there, and allow that to pull tight on itself. That'll keep it from sliding up and down the line. Now, if we need to adjust it on our line, we can back off on our lark's head, bring those 2 ears down around the side, and now we can adjust it left or right. When we're ready, we're going to bring that back up and lock it down, and you're good to go. To make a temporary tie-off point, create a loop with your line, run that loop around your post underneath the main line, take this loop and bring it over your post. Cinch down tight. When you're ready to go, release the tension. All right, I've done this a gazillion times. Get it right in the middle. Sometimes you can't take chances, especially when out in the wild. So let me show you a quick tip. All I need to do is flip my axe head upside down, and now I place my line precisely where I want it to be cut. All that's left is to use the mallet. I hope that was helpful. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. I'll see you on the next one. Now, when trying to start a fire, most people will grab the wood that's on the ground. The problem is this is full of moisture. Instead, what you want to do is look up into the trees for any deadfall. These are going to be much drier due to that air circulation. Here's the easiest way to tie the constrictor knot. Loop the rope around a tie-off point. With an open fist, reach under the standing line and grab that runner. Pull down to create slack and also create an X pattern. From here, fold the slack around the tie-off point and pull the running end to tighten it up and create a constrictor knot. If you don't have one of these, I'm going to show you how to make one with this. We're going to bring our 2 ends together and create a double overhand knot. Loop it through once and twice. Pull tight. Now on the other end, I'm going to create a lark's head by bringing 2 fingers through, flipping that around to create 2 ears. Fold those 2 ears together just like that. Now use that double overhand knot, bring it through the lark's head and pull tight. From here, you can slide this all the way down, creating a soft shackle. Just make sure your rope's strong enough. Loosen this up and slide that double overhand knot back through and you're ready to go. Run your soft shackle through your handle, create a lark's head, take the double overhand knot over the line and through that lark's head. Allow it to pull tight. From here, you're ready to go. Ah, man, pulling trees out of the ground is hard work. Let me show you an easier way. Now, I'm gonna tie an easy slip knot around the base of this tree. Now we're gonna need some type of a lever, such as this 5-foot long tree branch. Chop a spear point on one end, find the middle of this branch and place it directly behind the tree. Here toward the top, I'm gonna create another slip knot. And now we can lift straight up. This may take multiple tries. All right, we're gonna try a bigger limb. Who am I kidding? Let me know in the comments. Most disposable hand warmers are going to provide hours and hours of quality heat. But what if you only need this heat for a very small amount of time? You definitely don't want to waste perfectly good heat by throwing away a hand warmer that you've only used for a short amount of time. Now save it for when you really need it using this super simple technique. Most disposable hand warmers contain a mix of iron, water, activated carbon, vermiculite, cellulose, and salt. Once this is exposed to the air, the iron oxidizes and it releases the heat in the process. After all the iron has reacted, this hand warmer would be done and ready to be discarded in the trash. And there lies that crucial piece of information. In order for this hand warmer to work, it's going to need a steady supply of oxygen. If you cut off the oxygen supply, that chemical reaction stops. To cut off the oxygen, all I need to do is put this hand warmer in an airtight Ziploc bag. Once all that residual oxygen is used up inside the baggie, this thing's put on pause until the next time you open it and expose it once again to oxygen. Pro tip, most hand warmers contain cellulose, which is flammable. Today I'm going to show you an easier way to carry these, so stay with me. I'm going to start with 13 feet of rope and create a triangular configuration. On one of the sides, I'm going to bring that up and flip that over to create a loop. Now we've also made an X here, which is exactly where the center of our bottle is going to sit. I'm going to grab this corner on the end, bring it over this excess here and under, and leave a little bit of slack on the sides. From here, I'm going to grab these two ears on the side and just gently bring them back. Next, I'm going to grab that front piece, bring it up over the top of the bottle and along the outside of these ears. We're going to take the outside of each one of these ears, bring it over that main line, just like that. From here, all I have to do is grab that main line and pull up. I can either use thicker rope or insert a stick here as a handle to make it easier to carry. Have you ever tried to start a fire and felt like you were auditioning for Survivor? Now we're going to make this easier, but also a little more fabulous. Nail polish contains nitrocellulose. It's highly flammable and a great fire extender. All you got to do is dip the match head and part of the stick right into your wife's favorite nail polish. You get extra brownie points if it's glittery. Let them dry for a little while. Now be patient, because you know what? Rome wasn't built in a day. And your new fire extending matches, well, they deserve this level of glamour. Now you've got matches that are flammable and fashionable. Remember, the more ridiculous the nail polish, the longer they're going to burn. Now, your fire's lit, your hands are clean, and those matches, they look like they belong on a runway. Whoever said survival can't sparkle? Now, a lot of times we try to tie off our tarps pretty quickly when we get to camp. And so what we end up doing on every single grommet is just real quickly tying some overhand knots. A lot of times we'll do a double overhand knot, and that'll work fine. The problem is when it's time to break down camp, once you cinch down on these and pull these tight, they're going to be somewhat difficult to undo. Now, a simple trick you can try is in each of your lines, you can put a single or a double stop knot in the end. So I'm going to tie one there and tie one more behind it. It should look something like this. Now, in the line, probably a few inches up, we're just going to create a bite in our line just like this. It should look like that. I'm going to pinch the end of that bite and run it up through that grommet. You should have something like this. Now, it would be pretty simple to just run a toggle in here and then pull that tight to hold it in place. However, since we made those two stop knots, we're going to use those to our advantage. And real simply, all we're going to do is loop those two stopper knots back through that bite, just like that, and then let that kind of pull in on itself. And you'll see here that that'll hold it in place. Equally as simple to get it undone. Just pull up, bring those two stop knots back out, and you're ready to go. You find yourself caught in a woodland survival situation for an undisclosed amount of time. Which of these tools would you choose? A, lighter. B, ferro rod. C, flint and steel. D, 12 stormproof matches. Decide in the comments and tell us why it's your choice. You're caught in a woodland survival situation for an undisclosed amount of time. Which of these tools would you choose? A, fixed blade with sheath. B, folding blade with pocket clip. C, Swiss Army knife. D, multi-tool. Decide in the comments and tell us why it's your choice. You're caught in a woodland survival situation for an undisclosed amount of time. Which of these tools would you choose? A, axe. B, folding saw. C, hatchet. Decide in the comments and tell us why it's your choice. Can your survival knife do this? Knife with a 90-degree spine, ferro rod, tinder bundle. If I handed you these 3 items, could you start a fire? Let us know in the comments, either yes or no, and tell us why. C, steel, flint rock, char cloth. If I handed you these 3 items, could I trust you to start a fire? Let us know in the comments, either yes or no, and tell us why. Metal tin, articles of clothing, lighter, nail. If I handed you these 4 items, could you make char cloth? Let us know in the comments, either yes or no, and tell us why. Here's a quick guideline when chopping limbs on the ground. Now, number 1, no matter what side the limb is on, never straddle the log. Number 2, never chop from the near side. And number 3, always chop the branch from the far side. Not everyone has perfect aim. Chances are pretty good that you've broken an axe handle somewhere around here just by striking another piece of wood. And so today I'm going to show you a quick tip on how to reduce the likelihood of that breaking again in the future. First thing I need to do is drop that axe head over a piece of wood to see where it's making contact at first with the belly and the shoulder. I'm going to need about 10 to 15 feet of paracord. In one end, I'm going to create a loop the length that I want my wrap to be. Now, once I have this the length that I need, I'm going to place it underneath the handle, not on the top and not on the side, because we want as much protection on the bottom as possible. I'm going to bring it all the way up to where I measured. I'm going to begin to wrap over the top. Once we get to the top, we're going to feed this through that loop, and I'm going to grab this tag end here and begin to pull upward. From here, I can take my knife and cut off any excess. You can also use a brighter paracord in case you lose it on the ground. You know what? A lighter doesn't need any fuel to start a fire. That's because it has its own built-in ferro rod. All you need is the right tinder. Pathfinder, medium furnace. Now, if I handed you a piece of this, along with this and this, could you still start a fire? Now, if I handed you a piece of this, along with this and this, could you still start a fire? Now, in boiling water, don't get burned by grabbing the container. Instead, take a small wooden toggle and tie it off to a piece of paracord, drop it in, and lift up. This is a little bit cumbersome to remove, so let me show you a second way. This time, take a wide branch exactly how I've cut it here, tie off an easy stop knot at the end, then create a loop, and from there make a lark's head, 2 ears, flip those over. Next, I'll take a wide branch and run it down through that lark's head and pull tight. Real simply, we're going to drop it in and lift up. To remove, just pull it back and you're ready to go. This is how you take a regular lighter and make it a little more useful. First thing I want to do is remove this metal clip here using my knife. That is going to immediately make a huge difference when trying to start this with cold hands. Next, I'm going to make a carabiner hook by taking a piece of jute twine here and some duct tape, and that's going to hold that in place. For a second layer, I'll sometimes use one of these cotton swabs here. Basically, I'll fold this in half, wrap it around my lighter, and from there I can add a piece of duct tape over top. For a third layer, I like to use a couple stormproof matches to attach with a straight lash. Now, you can toss this in your pocket, your backpack, or clip it to a carabiner, and you're ready to go. Today, we're going to create some Pyrotechnic paint, and these are the tools we're going to need. We're going to need professional table tennis balls, so I've got a pack of these Stigas. We're also going to need 100% acetone or fingernail polish remover. We're also going to need some type of a glass cup, a couple of paint brushes, some type of a mold. In this case, I've got a Lego mold, and also a box of matches. Now, first thing I need to do is chop up a couple of these table tennis balls into really small pieces. Now as we're chopping these up, we can go ahead and add them to our cup. Now once we got those cut up, I'm gonna go ahead and add that acetone. And we wanna put in just enough to cover all the pieces in the cup. And now we're gonna sit and wait. After about 2 or 3 minutes, you can tell here it's starting to thicken up a little bit. While we're waiting, professional made ping pong balls are made with nitrocellulose, which is extremely flammable. You mix that with acetone 100%, which is also extremely flammable, and you can kind of guess what's gonna happen. Now, after about 15 to 20 minutes, you're gonna notice this is really turning into a paste. Now I'm gonna go ahead and paint one of those matches with a little bit of it. And we're just gonna put it on there, kind of thick. Now we're gonna set that out to dry. All right, so after about 30 minutes, you should have something similar to this, which is very similar to school glue. And now we can use this just like paint, kind of like a pyrotechnic coating if you think about it. So I'm gonna start with our Lego mold. All right, now we can set these to the side and let them dry. Now let's go ahead and paint some on this block of wood and see what happens. All right, let's go ahead and try and light it. Now, as you can see, it is highly, highly flammable. Now, even after putting a coating on these matches, I can dip them in water and they'll still work. Now, after a couple of hours, these Lego bricks will be dry. And remember, every brick tells a story, but unfortunately, this is the end of their story. Now, any of the leftovers can be tossed into a metal can and saved for later. Terpenes are aromatic compounds found in many shrubs and trees, such as the cedar and also this pine. There are more than 550 species of conifers, and the majority of them are going to be your evergreen trees. Now, conifers are going to have these needle shapes or something that's a little more scaly. If you ever need to get a fire started rather quickly, but you don't have time to gather the wood or process it, all you need to do is look for some pine cones. Now, a pine cone, this is nature's natural fire stick. Now, pine cones are woody and have scales that protect the seeds. These scales are arranged in a spiral pattern. Once these scales become dried out, you're going to notice that that cone's going to open up, and that makes it perfect for starting a fire with. At that point, I like to take my haversack, grab as many of these as I can, and take them back to camp. Now, once these scales begin to dry out, they're also going to open up, and that's going to allow for oxygen to make its way through those seeds. It's going to make it a lot easier to start a fire with. Now, I want to extend the burn time on these pine cones. So what I'm going to do is create a mixture of petroleum jelly and wax, mix that together, and just dunk each pine cone in there to give it a coating. Now, once my Pathfinder alcohol stove is burning, I'm gonna go ahead and put that mixture of wax and petroleum jelly there on top. I'll let that heat up and begin to melt. Once that's good and melted, I can go ahead and take that off. I'll put my simmer ring on here to cut that fire off. From here, I can begin to go ahead and coat those pine cones. You want to do this fairly quick because that wax is going to start to harden fairly quickly. All right, so let's see how well this one burns. Now, if that was super helpful to you, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Thank you for your support, and I'll see you next time. Today, I'm going to show you a quick tip to use if your bush pot doesn't have handles. So stay with me. Now, our product list for today, we're going to need some type of a wide branch that's about 16 inches in length. And as you can see, the end here where the wide portion is doesn't have to be very long. We're going to need some type of a cutting tool. Doesn't matter what knife you use. I'm using my personal favorite here. This is a workhorse. This is a Pathfinder knife shop. Scorpion XL. I'm also going to be using some type of a wooden mallet here, something I can use for striking the spine here on my knife. Now the first thing I want to do is go ahead and take my cutting tool and create an X here on the back of one side of this wide branch. So I'm going to start here, just use my mallet to make the first score mark. Now I'm going to switch over and make the other part of that X there. And what I need to do now is go ahead and begin to carve out around this peak right here to give me more of like a hook right here to hang my pot with. May need to go back over that score mark a few more times. Just dig it down a little deeper. Now, as you can see, we've essentially created a bell hook here for the bell that's on our pot. So let's go take a look at how this is going to work. Now, there's two really useful tips that I want to give you today using this bell handle that we just created. The first one is I'm using a tripod here, and it may be too hot to touch this bell handle on my bush pot. So I can use this little improvised bell notch here to lift up and remove my bush pot from that tripod. And vice versa, if I need to put it back on, I can just set it back into place here. And I've been able to do that safely and not get burned. Now for tip number two, if you don't have handles on the back of your bush pot and this is too hot, you're not going to be able to pour your water like you want to. So we're going to use that improvised bell notch that we made today on the bell here, bring our Y branch down and use those Y forks as a platform to lift up and be able to pour our liquids with. All right, guys, I hope that was super helpful to you. If so, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you next time. Now today I'm going to show you how to make this Swedish lap vise, so stay with me. So as far as our shopping list is concerned, we're going to need some type of a heavy duty rope. Doesn't matter the diameter as long as it's heavy duty. We need some type of a drill, and we're also going to need some type of a drill bit to go along with our drill that is going to match the diameter of our rope. Lastly, we're going to need some type of a work surface. So this board should be wide enough to cover both of our quads and long enough to give us a surface area to work on. Now the measurement doesn't have to be precise. However, I do work primarily with pieces of wood similar to this size diameter. So all I'm going to do is set that in the center of my board that I'm going to work with, and I'm going to create 2 holes on both sides. All right, first hole's done. All right, now I've got all 4 holes drilled. So once we have that board set up on our lap, we're gonna go ahead and cut our rope. Now to get a ballpark measurement here, I'm just gonna place the end of the rope under my foot, bring it up over the top here, and I wanna get a little bit of slack in this as well, just to be safe. And from here, I'm gonna double up what I need, and that's where we'll make our first cut. Now I need to measure out a second piece of rope this exact same size. Using my first rope, there's 2 ways to thread this. I could either take both ends and go straight down, or I can just take the first end here, come up from underneath, and back down the other side. From here, I'm going to flip this over, and on one end, I'm just going to do an overhand knot. Very simple, very basic here. Keep in mind, this may need to be adjusted, so don't make it permanent just yet. Now for our second piece of rope, we need to do the exact same thing. Now I went ahead and tied a knot in the end of both of mine in the exact same place. I'm also going to leave this excess in case I need to adjust this in the future. The only time you should have to adjust it is if you're working with a bigger piece of wood on top. Now once I've got that flipped over, all I need to do now is bring in my piece of wood that I'm working with. I'm going to slide that underneath both of these lines. And from here I'm just going to lift up and place my foot on top of each one of those knots. And from here I can bring this in on top of my quads and allow the tension to be applied using that foot, which is going to keep this in place. Now this is going to work great on those wood projects where you just need to free up an extra hand. Now today we're gonna make this simple cooking stove, so stay with me. As for our shopping list, we're gonna need some type of a metal container that has a lid. We're gonna need some type of a pan or a pot to melt our wax with. I've got some pine cones here to also add into the mix. We're gonna need a couple pieces of wood or a couple rocks to use as a platform to put our stove between so that we can put our pot on top of this. We're gonna need some type of wax. I've been using this brand for a very long time. Now I've also added petroleum jelly to this already, and so that's gonna help extend the burn time. We're gonna need some type of a drill. Now we're gonna need a consistent flame, so a lighter is gonna be appropriate for this. We're gonna need some type of wood. I have 2 pieces of dried wood here, cedar and some fat wood. I've got a piece of green wood right here to show you the difference in the shavings between the wet wood and the dry wood. And most importantly, you're gonna need some type of a pencil sharpener to make this go quickly. So first thing we need to do is go ahead and take a piece of wood. I'm gonna start with the cedar here and insert that into the drill. Now with the dry wood, these pieces tend to crumble into small little shavings. Since this is dry, these will easily can be smashed into tiny little bits and pieces. All right, I'm gonna add a little bit of fat wood in here to extend that burn time. And I also like to crumble this up a little bit as well. If you choose to use wet wood, and with this, it's gonna be a lot harder to crumble. You'll notice that it really doesn't want to. And it's also very wet feeling, like it's got moisture in it. So I would stay away from this. So next thing I need to do is go ahead and heat up this wax. I am gonna need an external stove or some way to heat up this pan. All right, once that's been melted down, you gotta work fast because that's gonna harden up pretty quick. So what I'm gonna do is dump out about half of that. I'll break this pine cone up into a couple little pieces too. Add that in there. And once we got that mixed up a little bit in there, I'm gonna go ahead and add some of this wax mixture. We're gonna add a little bit more into that layer. Pour a little bit more mixture in there now. Make sure everything gets coated in the wax. Now we're gonna take a couple minutes and let this set up. Now once that wax sets up and hardens, I can go ahead and add the lid. And from here, I can toss this in a backpack or I can toss it in a vehicle for an emergency situation. When it comes time to use it, all I need to do is remove the lid, grab my lighter. Now once that gets established, I can go ahead and bring in a couple pieces of wood. Again, I could use a rock here instead and just bring my cooking pan or pot here. I can begin to cook on top of this. And if I get done, all I gotta do is snuff out that oxygen by putting a lid on it. And now it's ready to go again the next time. Now for today's tip, I'm gonna show you how to use this Pathfinder survival blanket and turn it into an A-frame survival shelter using 0 trees. Now, as far as our tools are concerned, we're gonna need at least 4 4-foot long branches that are fairly straight. We're gonna turn these into bipods. We're obviously gonna need our survival blanket, and then I've just got some basic tent stakes, but I've got at least 5 or 6 of these. I got a couple wooden toggles here that we'll use in just a minute. I've also got about 20 foot of paracord with 2 prusik knots tied off about midway. And lastly, I've got 4 6-foot long pieces of paracord, and on one of each end, I've tied a bowline knot. First thing I need to do is go ahead and lay out my survival blanket with the reflective side facing down. Next, I'm just gonna lay out a pair of sticks on both sides. And now we can lay our ridge line. Now on that ridge line, I'm gonna start off by creating a bowline knot. I'm gonna use one of my tent stakes and bring it in through that bowline about 2 feet away from my blanket. I'm gonna drive it in the ground at about a 45-degree angle. Now we're gonna create our first bipod here by bringing the 2 sticks together to form an X. We're gonna take our ridge line, come up around the center. We're gonna do that twice, pulling it tight each time. And after that second one, we're gonna create a figure 8. Once there, and once there. The tension from our tent stake is going to keep this nice and secure. Now we need to do the other side. Now we're going to create our second bipod here, coming a little bit further away from the blanket. I'm not right up against it because we need some room to be able to pull those prusik knots tight. Again, coming up from the bottom, going around once, going around twice, and then a figure 8. We're going to pull that nice and tight and secure the end of this with a marlin spike. Again, 45-degree angle. Here's where I'm going to need those 2 wooden toggles. So I'm going to bring one of those prusik loops up through one of those grommets in the middle and put a little tension on that. Come up and dress the other one. Cinch that down using that prusik knot to keep this nice and tight on that ridge line. Go ahead and take those 4 6-foot pieces of paracord. We're going to go ahead and stake our corners. Doesn't matter which corner I start at, but I'm going to go ahead and take that bowline loop, bring it up through that grommet head there, and then pull that slack line all the way through. I can tie this off, or in this case, we're just going to stake it off in the ground using the marlin spike. Tie off another marlin spike here to 45. Tap that guy in. 45, and drive it in. Now, I hope that was helpful to you. I appreciate your support, and I'll see you on the next one. Today, I'm going to show you a couple tips when processing firewood using a knife, such as this LT Wright GNS. Now, a Scandi grind, in my opinion, is going to be better at splitting firewood than, say, a flat grind or even a saber grind. Now, if I happen to have a larger diameter piece of wood, but my blade is not long enough to cut through the very center, I'm going to want to start a little bit off center to make my first cut. Now, as you're doing this, you want to listen for the wood to hear the cracking sounds. Now we're going to turn it, and again, not starting in the center, we're going to just cut around the outside. All right, we should end up with something that looks like a square. Now from here, I'm going to cut this into smaller slivers. Now, once we have a couple pieces like this, we can start to process those down using just our knife without the mallet. I want to make sure the blade is facing away from me, and this tip is strong enough that I can place that into the wood, put my thumb on top of the pommel here so that my hand does not happen to slide down by accident over the knife. So use that thumb on top. From here, I'm just going to place this into the surface. And I can rotate that wood to split it. Now, if you own an LT Wright knife, you know the guys over there put a needle point on the end of these things. I don't even have to press at all. All I've got to do is touch that to that piece of wood and it will pick it up. That's how sharp the tip is on this thing. Now, the spine on this is a true 90-degree spine, and it will get the job done every single time. This kind of stuff will easily get a fire started. I like to create just some slivers here, almost like a feather stick. These are considered fire extenders, so they're not fine enough to create ignition with a spark, at least. Maybe with a lighter you could, but I just like creating some of these, setting those off aside onto another pile. Remember, if you need to split down wood, pick up a Scandi grind. Today I'm going to show you how to make this candle holder with a windscreen, so stay with me. Now here's the list of items we're going to need. We're going to need some type of a knife, going to need a candle, going to need some type of a limb about 2 to 3 inches in diameter, going to need a lighter, some tarred bank line, possibly a hatchet, a decent sized piece of tree bark, and then some type of tree bark that is pliable. And for instance, here I'm using cedar bark. First thing we need to do is create a lashing on our stick here so that it does not split out all the way down. So this is where that bank line is going to come in handy. Now I'm going to create my lashing about 3 to 4 inches down on this piece of wood. I did a video a while back on how to create this lashing, so make sure you go and check it out. Finish off here by pulling it in tight, and from here I can cut this excess off if I want to, or I can just leave it. Next thing I'm going to do is split this piece of wood using my knife, and we're going to go straight down the center and create a curve. Now once this process is completed, it's time to go ahead and wrap that candle using that cedar bark that I've got here. And basically all I want to do, just wrap that piece in there, pull it tight around the back. From here, I'm going to slide this in the kerf on this piece of wood. And just pull it tight. Now, if we want to make a windscreen, all we need to do is cut a slit out of a piece of hardened bark. Just be careful not to split it all the way down. From here, I'm going to take that notch and just slide it down over the top of that candle. and then pull that tight, and you're good to go. An alternative to using tree bark could be something like bank line or even some type of fishing line. The first thing I want to do is go ahead and pull one end of that bank line or fishing line through that curve. And from here, I'm going to wrap the other end around my candle and pull that in through that curve as well. Once I've done that, I can pull tight. The great thing about bank line is it locks up nice and tight. Now, once I've done that, it's in there nice and tight. It's not going anywhere. And from here, I can slide that windscreen down over the candle, get it nice and tight. I could create a point down here as a spike to drive this into the ground. Now at this point, the only thing left to do is to go ahead and light it. I hope that was helpful. If so, hit that like and subscribe button. I'll see you on the next one. Today we're going to take a quick look at rope seizing. And so I've got a couple different methods today that I want to look over with you. So let's jump right in. For one, we're going to need a lighter. We're going to need some type of shrink tubing or shrink wrap. You can get this at the local hardware store. We're going to need some small diameter bank line. We're going to need a little bit of duct tape, and also any type of knife will do. We're also going to look at 3 different types of rope issues with the paracord, which is what we use commonly out here in the woods. Nylon roping once it starts to come undone, and also polypropylene, which is used for tying off boats. Now I've got a brand new pack of nylon rope here, and as you can see, the end of it, the braid has already begun to unravel. If I try to cut this off, what's going to happen is it's going to make matters worse because it's going to continue down the line here to unravel. Same thing with the paracord. As you can see here, I've already got those nylon strands that are coming out. If I cut this off, it's just going to continue to do the same thing further and further down my rope. Something similar could happen with this polypropylene, as if we cut this, that braid is going to start to open up and come undone. Now, a very common and easy way to seize paracord is going to be with a lighter. So basically all we're going to do is melt those nylon strands together. Be careful that it doesn't drip on you. And that's going to close off that line, and you're not going to have to worry about that unraveling any further down until you make another cut. So with the nylon rope, I'm going to create a straight lash using a little bit of bank line, and basically I'm just going to create a bite or a loop there, however you want to call it, and I'm going to turn that loop around so that it's going down the rope. I'll create about a 1-inch lashing here, and so I want to leave a little bit of a tag end on the end, and I want to take the running end of my rope and just begin to wrap it around the nylon here. I'm going to wrap back towards that bite. Once I wrap it, and I've only got a little bit of room left, I'm going to leave about 1 inch or so. Go ahead and cut that off. I'm going to take and run the end of that line through that bite. And from here, I'm going to take the tag end that I left down here on the end and just jerk that into it, just like that. Now I can cut off these ends here entirely. But I'm going to go ahead and burn that end here with my lighter. Good to go. And so I'm gonna go ahead and just be proactive, and I've already slid a piece of shrink tubing on here to show you what that's gonna look like, and hold it underneath. You're good to go. That one's done. And I found that if you get the right correct size, you can even do paracord. If you're in a pinch, we're gonna use some duct tape. You don't need a whole lot. We're gonna take right there on the end and wrap that guy tight as we can get it. You can also melt that end, and that rope is good to go. I hope you learned something from this. If so, make sure you subscribe to the channel and share it with a good friend so they can learn something too. I appreciate your support, and I'll see you on the next one. If you're looking to spend more time outdoors, but you're not exactly sure what type of gear to take with you, or you know someone who spends a lot of time outdoors and you're looking for the perfect gift, this video is just for you. Now, the first category I want to talk about today are knives, saws, and hatchets. Probably my favorite model that Pathfinder Knife Shop sells is going to be the Scorpion Edition. This is the XL model. I'm 6'3", a little bit bigger guy, so I've got bigger hands. I want something I can really get a good grip on here. Now, my second favorite model from Pathfinder Knife Shop is going to be the Mountaineer. This one is a little bit thicker blade steel on this one. Again, 1095 high carbon steel. You've also got that wonderful Scandi grind on this. And we've got this time some curly maple handles on that. Now, a third knife I have through Pathfinder Knife Shop is called the Camp Companion. This is more of a paring knife, food prep type of knife. Again, 1095 high carbon steel, Scandi grind on that. Beautiful Scandi grind on this. It's just a beautiful knife. Now, most of you have heard of Leatherman. I don't carry Leatherman a whole lot into the woods just because I'm not ever in need of a set of pliers for the most part, but they do come in handy and they do have their purpose in place. And so If you've never heard of them, now you have. Leatherman makes, this is the Wave Plus, and this one's brand new, but I wanted to show you this today because with the Leathermans, you get all kind of cool features with it. You've got all kind of different knives and different things. You got a saw there. Obviously, you've got a set of pliers here. And this will come in handy for a lot of different things, especially if you need to work on, you know, some type of equipment while you're out at camp. Another great tool is the SAK or Swiss Army knife. This is going to have a lot of different types of blades and features in it. This one in particular has a saw blade, which is going to come in handy on many different occasions for cutting pieces of wood or maybe even some paracord or rope. One thing that I really like about all Swiss Army knives is that they usually come with a set of tweezers, and my favorite, a toothpick. I have two saws to share with you. This is a Baco Laplander, probably one of the most well-known saws in the outdoor community. Now this next saw is called the Silky Big Boy, and as you can see, this is a saw that you want to have with you, especially if you're going to be going camping for a couple days. Jumping into hatchets now, this item is also well known in the outdoor community. This is an S-wing hatchet. Gerber has also come out with a type of a bushcraft hatchet. This one is a little more geared towards survival in that you have a release button down here on the bottom, and it has some paracord and a place where you can store a lighter in it as well. Most widely well-known hatchet brands in the world is Gransford Brooks. Next up on the list is going to be some type of cordage. And so for instance, I carry this Tough Grid paracord in here. This is 550-pound paracord. This is a good amount right here as a backup option to store in here. And I also carry some bank line if you are looking for, you know, to build shelters, traps, anything like that, especially with fishing and whatnot. Now, next up on the list is going to be something to start a fire with. And I've got a tool roll here from the company Lockbee, and I keep all of my fire starting gear in this. Something as simple as a stormproof match from Yuko. Definitely great to have in a pack as an option in case it's wet outside. This will start even in rain. So great option to have. Also, these Sweet Fire fire starters from Yuko as well. Very handy, again, for getting that fire started, especially when your hands are kind of frozen or they're cold. And just light this and you're good to go. Now, probably the best tool for starting a fire is going to be some type of a lighter. I've got one here. This is the Titan Light from Exotac. And basically it just screws off and you've got a lighter there on the inside. Also, some type of fire steel. I've got one here from Self-Reliance Outfitters. Ferrocerium rod. Again, you're striking this and creating that spark to help ignite that fire. And so this is from Self-Reliance Outfitters. Again, from Exotac, this is a Fire Rod XL. This one has some duct tape, and it's also got some fire starting tabs inside of the cap there that will easily catch on fire. Exotac also manufactures a Match Cap XL. It's a great place to store some matches. I also picked up this magnifying glass from Self-Reliance Outfitters. This was also handy for starting fires. I also picked up a couple years ago, and this tin has been used and abused. This is a fire starting kit with flint and steel. So you have a way in here to make char cloth using flint and steel. Next up is going to be communications. I always recommend some type of a walkie-talkie, something to be able to use to communicate with someone else at camp. These two here are 5-watt radios by Rocky Talkie. We have used these quite a bit when going camping with the kids, and the kids love them, and my wife and I, we use them all the time. So definitely need a set of good walkie-talkies. I also like to carry some type of a satellite communicator with me, either something like this Garmin InReach Mini 2 or this Montana 750i. Both of these are great to have anytime you go on extended trips. The next couple items are geared more towards survival. This particular item can be picked up through Self-Reliance Outfitters. This is a Grail. A lot of people know about these in the outdoor community. They're great, fantastic for purifying water, especially if you run out and in an emergency. This is what you need to have with you. Now, Self-Reliance Outfitters has come up with a nesting cup for that Grail that has batwing handles on the back. There's also a measurement on the inside for liquid or food. Now, if you use this Grail system, then you know that the lower portion, you have to scoop up your water out of a stream or whatever water source that you're using. The problem with that is you get a lot of turbidity in this, and that you got a lot of debris in here now. And so that anytime you go to press that inward, you're really starting to clog up that filter. Self-Reliance sells a millbank bag. And these are great for pre-filtering your water so that when you get down to get that scoop of water, all that turbidity and everything stays inside of this bag. You can hang this from a tree limb, and what will happen is your water that is filtered through this cotton material is going to begin to drip out. And you want to put your grail, the lower portion of it, underneath to catch all of that water. And then from there, you can use your press to filter and clean out for viruses and the bacteria and whatnot. I highly recommend some type of a compass such as this Sunto MC2. Whatever you do, don't skimp on price when it comes to a good compass. Get something that's going to last a long time. At some point, you may have an opportunity to go fishing. And so Exotac has already thought of that, and they've come out with this X reel. And basically, you can hold it with 2 fingers, cast your line out, and reel it back in. It also opens up to reveal on the inside 2 weights, a couple hooks, and a couple sinkers. And there's a lot of room in there left to add some more gear. Now, the most important thing to have on you when going outdoors is obviously some type of a medical kit, first aid kit. I always recommend the use of some type of a tourniquet. These are made by North American Rescue. This is a 100% cat tourniquet. On the inside of this, I've got some emergency dressings here. Again, all by North American Rescue. There's some stop the bleed here, survival blankets, and you've got some different type of chest seals and whatnot in here as well. Next up on the gear list is going to be camp cooking. Now, there are a ton of companies out there that make camping cookware, and you really can't go wrong with a lot of them. However, I tend to stick to the Pathfinder edition from Self-Reliance Outfitters. Pathfinder makes a really nice 8-inch skillet, and this one has a really nice flat bottom here that helps evenly distribute that heat. You can also get it with a grill insert to grill your food. This is Pathfinder's PFM 40 cook set. It does have a hanging handle here. This can be taken out. And on the inside here, you've got a couple feet that fold up. And you can use something like an alcohol stove or some type of, wood, whatever you want to use, to light a fire in here. And once you've done that, you can put your liquids or your food in this to cook. And that will sit on those 2 feet inside. You can also cook inside of this pan here. Great thing about it is it all nests back together. And they also make an extremely nice carrying case for it. They also make a small canteen set with a personal water bottle, a mug that has bat wings on the back, and also has volumetric measurements on the inside. And you've also got a little stove here underneath, nested on the bottom. And so I can use an alcohol stove, place that over the flame, and then boil my water inside of that little cook pot. Now, Pathfinder really does think of everything. They also have provisions, and so I've got a chicken and dumpling soup, which sounds really good. This is my personal favorite, chili mac and cheese. Amazing meal to have when it's cold out. Southwest chicken and rice. Apple cinnamon oatmeal. Loaded baked potato soup. And beef chili with beans. I highly recommend some type of a bush pot to cook your meals in, to boil your water, that type of stuff. And so these 2 particular ones are made from Pathfinder. They do have a bell handle on the top. You've also got your grab handles or bat wings on the back to be able to get that water or your food off of the fire. There's multiple sizes. Each one has a pour spout on the front. Now the cool thing about these bush pots is Pathfinder also makes these little stainless steel grates here. And with this one in particular, it fits in there sideways. If you wanted to, you could do a little bit of baking in here. Put your product, whatever it is, on top of the grate, insert it into the pot, place the lid on it, and then place this directly into the fire. Now, if you're looking for kitchen knives, Gerber makes some really good products at a really great price. And here we got some chef's knives. These are some excellent knives. These are extremely sharp knives. These are 41/16 stainless steel, and they will get the job done every single time. Gerber also makes a complete cook set. It's definitely worth it if you have a larger family. This is going to have everything that you need to cook a meal, all the way down from the bowls, the plates. Everything can fit into this one stackable unit here. You've got the stock pot, and under that, you've also got a cooking pan. So Gerber really has thought of everything. And by the way, I did an unboxing video of this. Go check it out. Now, when it comes to sleep gear, I don't use a whole lot of tents. I prefer either having some type of a hammock or a tarp shelter over top of me. This is a survival blanket by Self-Reliance Outfitters. I also recommend having some type of a hammock system. If you don't really like tents, this is great for sleeping out underneath the stars. This is an Eno Jungle Nest hammock. Scepter makes these amazing water containers. Highly recommend one of these. It does have a way to release the pressure here, 2 different valves, a smaller one here, and then obviously the larger one here. They make these in various sizes. I recommend at least the 10-liter one for camp, especially if you're just one person. If there's multiple people, they do make a larger option. Now, lighting is a huge topic, and there's a ton of really great brands out there. I've always gravitated toward Streamlight, Surefire, and Phoenix. Phoenix is what I currently carry. This is a PD40R version 3. I like this one because it allows you with one hand to twist, and you've also got SOS. And so if you've got gloves on, this is real simple to do. That way you don't have to fumble with buttons. Having some type of a lantern, again, I've got multiple options here, different options of lantern styles. This one turns red, one from Streamlight. I've had this thing for a long time. It's bulletproof. Anytime I go outdoors, I'm thinking of some type of clothing or some type of headgear to help block those UV rays. And so a company that I found that makes hats for larger heads, I wear a size 8 and some change, is American Hat Makers. This one is called the Crusher model. And the reason they call it that is because you can literally crush this thing up, fold it up, throw it in a backpack, and when you're done or when you need it and you open it back up, it pops right back into shape. I'm wearing the Hollywood from American Hat Makers as well. And they also make a hat stretcher. And so if you need to stretch a hat, they make a product just for that. They also make a lot of other various types of hats. This one's very lightweight. It's made from some quality material. Everything made here in the USA. There are a lot of great clothing manufacturers out there that manufactures for all 4 seasons. And I come across this company called Thermowave. This particular company creates a lot of articles of clothing made from 100% wool. I've been wearing this for a couple weeks now. Just finally started getting cold here in North Carolina. And this thing has kept me extremely warm. The pockets are extremely comfortable, and there's a lot of room and a lot of extra pockets on this coat. Again, this is made from Thermowave. They've also got gloves, socks, undergarments, shirts, and pants as well. And last but certainly not least, knowledge. What's between those ears is what's most important anytime you go outside. So I highly recommend just a few of these books today. I've got a couple for you. These are great for kids. This one is called Animal Tracks. And when you open this up, it gives you a diagram picture of all the different types of tracks from the various animals. They also have one for mammals. So again, you get a nice picture of a lot of different mammals. Next one is edible wild plants, and they make a lot of different variations of these. Again, 2 sides, edible wild plants. Also, it's helpful to know your trees. My son likes this book, Pond Life. It's got a lot of really neat pictures on the inside, and it tells you a whole lot of information about the outdoors. 2 of my favorite reads for bushcraft and survival is First Aid by Dave Canterbury and Jason Hunt. Also, Advanced Bushcraft, written by Dave Canterbury. And if you need to learn some new knots, I highly recommend this one by Jeffrey Budworth. Now, backpacks are subjective. There are so many out there. I use the Bushcrafter from Duluth Pack. This is wax canvas. This is probably one of the nicest backpacks I've ever owned. There's a lot of space in here for a lot of different kit. And as you can see, you can put a lot of things in here. Again, there's a lot of really great products out there. This is just a few that I carry with me. 99.99% of you are gonna leave a comment below saying, Justin, just carry a hatchet. However, statistically, most hikers and backpackers never take a hatchet with them. However, some of them do carry a saw. And so today, I'm gonna show you how to split a piece of wood using a saw. Now, there's a lot of saw companies on the market. However, I've been using this one for over 20 years, and this is the Baco Laplander. It's nice and compact. This will fit in a haversack or a backpack or even your back pocket, no problem. There's also a place for a lanyard so that you can secure this to your pack. Now, we're gonna need to cut a wedge, and I've just cut off a little piece of limb here that I'm gonna use to make one. I need to saw this off at an angle, and so to do that, I'm just gonna lay this here, take my saw, and begin to cut at an angle. Now, a great thing about using a saw is you're also going to get that fine sawdust, which is going to help you create a fire. So I try to rake all this stuff up and put it in some type of a container to use for later. Now, we want to conserve calories as much as possible. So by making just one cut, we've essentially created two wedges. Each piece of wood that I've sawed, on one end or the other, you're going to start to see cracks that have formed in the wood. And so we want to use that to our advantage. And the first thing I'm going to do is start by finding, looks like the widest one. Gonna be about right there. I'm gonna use my saw now to just go along that crack and create a score mark here on the top. Once I've cut in about 1/4 inch, I'm gonna go ahead and stop there. And from here, I'm gonna start with the larger wedge. Use a mallet, or you can use another block of wood, whatever you have on hand, and begin to strike the top. All right, so I'm gonna alternate now in between these pieces of wood. And as you can see, I'm starting to get a crack now. It's forming down the side. All right. There it is. Now, this is another great reminder that you don't need a ton of tools when you go out into the forest, as something as simple as a saw can get the job done. Now, I'm Justin Johnson. Thanks so much for watching. Hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you next time.